Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my Random Thoughts on Thursdays. And this week I'm going to be covering things you might not expect when a loved one passes away. So yes, this week I'm once again talking about my husband's passing because it's still kind of top of mind. It's been about 6, almost 7 weeks now for me, and obviously I'm still dealing with his estate and all of the ramifications of his passing and everything. And there's been a number of things that have, cropped up that I wasn't expecting. It's things that you don't think about until someone passes away, and then it's like, oh, I kind of have to think about these things now. And so I just thought I'd talk about it. This may or may not be helpful for anyone in the future if a loved one of yours passes away, which, if that happens, you have my condolences, if you've experienced that recently as well. But things you don't necessarily expect. Now, okay, this is coming from the perspective of a spouse. I'm not quite sure how different it is if it's a child or other type of relations and things. But at least from a spouse perspective, and we were legally married, not just common law married, but actually legally married, and everything in the state of Colorado. And I have been going through what's called probate so that I can become I refer to it as executor of his estate, although they have a different term for it, but anyway, basically naming me executor so that I can then execute his wishes, his will, etc. And therein lies, one of the problems right now is the fact that he didn't have a legal will. He kind of scribbled a half-assed note on the last day before he passed away, and it's kind of semi-incoherent. It wasn't witnessed, it wasn't notified, it didn't go through a lawyer, and so the courts are kind of looking at this thing and like, was this really his will? Was he, right mind and all this stuff? And thank goodness I am so lucky that his family is being amazing, and we are all in agreement about how to go forward with everything. Who gets what, and there has been no disagreement on any front for anything so far. So I am so lucky that his family is being so amazing. Right now, it's me versus it would have been me versus them if there had been any disagreements, and his dad and his brother, who would have been the heirs if I wasn't around, are just being very, very accommodating and just very understanding and things, and we're being very we're reciprocating to each other on a lot of fronts. So if you have contention in your family, it's going to complicate matters a lot. And I know that, and I can't speak to that because I'm not experiencing that. I know I've heard of horror stories from other people, but I've not gone through it myself, and I'm counting myself very lucky in that front. But still, despite the fact that we're all in agreement, we've all signed documents to that effect, the courts are still dragging their feet because they're just looking at this this will and saying, this is not a legal will. Just, are you sure you want to follow this? And they're kind of poking at us like they're trying to make us fight over it. I'm like, no, we agree. Just move forward, please. So we're still in probate. I'm still waiting for that to go through. Hopefully that comes through in the next week or two, and then I can move forward and things. And then between myself and my brother-in-law, we can then establish the trust. That was my husband's wishes, was to establish a trust with his non-retirement accounts, so that I have funds available for cost of living and that kind of thing. So we're dealing with all that. And then my husband had income property, so I have to wait for probate so that I can get the title in my name, so that I can then list the property for sale. I want to sell it so that I can pay off my mortgage, so I don't have to worry about that. So there's all of those kinds of things to think about. Is like, property. Do you want to keep it? Do you want to sell it? What do you want to do with any property? Especially if you don't have a legally binding will thing to go with. And so who gets what where? Therein lies, there's a lot of legal things. You have to visit a lawyer. My legal fees so far to date have exceeded $1,500. I mean, it's all going to come out of my husband's estate, and thank goodness he has an estate for the money to come out of. If he had died destitute, I'm not even sure what I would. Well, I probably wouldn't be as much, legal stuff to deal with, because there wouldn't have been an estate other than maybe his car or something like that. But still, I'm just glad that there is money in the estate so that I can pay the legal bills, because it's just getting ridiculous with how much that you have to deal with, and it's. I'm lucky that a lot of places have been very helpful. Like my cable TV internet company was very, very helpful in terms of recommending to me, like, hey, you know what, just cancel his account, because we had the account in his name, and they were like, just cancel his account, get one in your name, we'll give you 2 years at a new customer rate. And I'm basically paying half of what I was paying for, and they actually increased everything. They gave me all the channels and all the premium channels and doubled my internet speed and everything else, and I'm paying half the cost for like 2 years. I'm like, okay, I'm very appreciative of that. I don't know if that's a new customer deal or the widow deal or what kind of deal it was, but I'm like not gonna complain. I'm like, that's nice. My husband, the company company bank, it's not really a bank though, but the where he has his retirement funds and his investing funds and that kind of thing, they've been very, very helpful. They actually have people designated specifically for helping for inheritance issues and that kind of thing. And thankfully his retirement funds were all listed I'm the beneficiary for those, and so will or no will, that supersedes a will. So any mention of beneficiary supersedes what's in a will. So I automatically inherit their retirement accounts. So thankfully, I don't have to worry about that. They're just going to roll it over into my name, and that'll be taken care of. His non-retirement account is going to go into the trust. And they've been very helpful. They're going to pre-fill out all the paperwork for me. I just have to sign it and send it back in, and they'll have instructions on what I have to do in terms of court stuff and paperwork and things that they need. So they've been very helpful. But there's just all these little things. Like today even, I almost forgot that my husband had a mailbox at a private location here in town. And he hadn't visited in like forever, but so he might have mail there. And I almost completely forgot that he even had that, because he kind of barely used it. And then I just happened to see something on Facebook today with a friend of mine who happens to be a part of that. It's a co-op kind of a thing. And I'm like, oh shoot, that's right, he had an account there and a mailbox there. And so I'm like, okay, now I've got to go talk to them and tell them why he hasn't been by in a while. And so that kind of brought back stuff for me today. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that you hadn't been informed yet, and all that kind of stuff. Other things that you don't even think about is like par for the course, unless you make specific request. The county generally does a autopsy and toxicology report, which they did for my husband, and I just got that in the mail the other day. And if you are easily triggered, don't read it. Thankfully, I was in a good mental place when I opened it, because it goes into graphic detail as to everything. And when they do the autopsy, they also like check if there were any other health issues besides what it was that killed them. And so I get, there's all this scientific doctor speak about all these different things about, his brain and his heart and his circulatory system and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need someone to help interpret this for me. I mean, was he in, I think it said he was mostly in good health, but they did find, one thing that I had been wondering about, I knew he had a container of marijuana edibles. Now, marijuana is legal in Colorado, and he had a container of edibles that he was using. He would sometimes take a half of because they were little gummy, I would say gummy bears, but they weren't bear shaped, they were just little rectangles. And he would just eat half of one 2 or 3 hours before bed, and it would help him sleep. That was the primary reason he was using them. And I have looked for it. Not that I wanted to take any, as much as I just wanted to know where it was. I wanted to make sure it wasn't somewhere where if my nephew's coming over to visit, I didn't want him to get his hands on it, because that would be bad. He's only 4 years old, and that would just, So I wanted to locate this container of edibles and know where it was, so that like my nephew couldn't get it and couldn't find it anywhere. I'm like, okay, did he take them beforehand? What? And sure enough, in the toxicology report, yeah, he had marijuana in his system. I can't interpret by how much, but I'm imagining he just downed the whole container full. Because I can't find the container, so I'm guessing he just downed whatever was left over in the container. I have no idea. I don't even remember how much he had left in it, but he had a few left, and he probably munched on those beforehand and everything else. But again, it's something that you're not necessarily prepared for, is this detailed autopsy and toxicology report. And if you didn't want to know the details of the person's passing, don't read it. That's all I'm saying right now, because they go into gory detail, and it's like, okay, maybe I didn't need to know that. But I guess it's good to be informed. But and I'm handling it. It's just keep in mind that you may or may not, if you're in the United States, you may or may not end up getting a document like that if you're the surviving spouse, and just be prepared. If you see something from the coroner's office, don't open it if you're not prepared for it. And then, of course, there are things that you expect, like funeral expenses and family visiting and people bringing you food and, all the standard stuff that happens. But, these are just a couple of the things that I've experienced lately that I was like, okay, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't expecting to have to think about that. And, now I am thinking about it, and now I am trying to deal with it. And I just hope that I can finally get closure on all this stuff in the next few weeks, so that I can then just kind of move forward with my own life. Want to, get the probate done, get the executorship, get the trust set up, get that flowing, and get all the rest of the legal stuff. I've been waiting for the probate stuff to finish up, because I need what's called letters of testamentary. That's what you get as an executor, and that's what I need to send in to the various places he had investments in. His various credit card accounts, etc. are going to need that so that I can close the accounts or transfer them in my name, which, to be perfectly honest, I don't think I'm going to transfer his credit cards in my name. I have my own, and I'm trying not to use them, and I haven't. I've been good. That's my biggest issue and it's one of the reasons why my husband's estate's going into trust for me, is because I do have a problem spending sometimes. I do, and it was sweet of him to okay, I want to make sure that my wife is taken care of, so I want to make sure she doesn't just go out and spend $10,000 on ridiculous crap, and so that was very smart of him. And I'm not doing that. I have been spending a little bit of money here and there. Today I just got a new set of dishes and a new knife set for the kitchen. I've been doing a lot more cooking at home lately, and I was like, I really hate his old knife set, because every single one of the knives in his knife set were serrated, and you want like smooth edged knives for some things, and you want the serrated for other things. And it was driving me nuts that everything was serrated, and I'm like, ugh. So the fact that I actually now have nice new knife set, and some are serrated and some are smooth, and I've got a whole nice collection of things that came with a nice pair of shears and everything, and so that's nice. And having new dishes feels good. And I spent $140 on new dishes for a service set of 8 from Target, but they're nice and things. And here I got my hair cut. Now, in my defense, my haircut, and then I got my nails done again. In my defense, I'm going to a business conference next week, and I needed to look a little bit more professional. And obviously, I'm not going to be wearing hoodies next week. I'll be all in business clothes and things like that, as I am for this conference. I go every year. This is going to be the first year it's going to be in Vegas. It's always been in Salt Lake City, so that's going to be new and different. And I guess everything's new this year, and why not? My annual conference might as well be new as well. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with me now, and I hope that you don't have to deal with the passing of a loved one anytime soon. If it happens, know that you have my condolences, and it's not easy, but you can get through it. You just got to keep remembering to get up every morning, and that life goes on. Even when one person goes, but everyone else keeps going, and that's just the way it is. So anyway, thanks for listening to my rambles again this week. Take care, and until next time, bye-bye.